Hey everybody, welcome to the newsroom. This is where we're going to talk about what I'm collecting and why. As I get back into Spider Man and begin building my collection, I want to make sure I'm doing it intentionally. I don't want to buy things just haphazardly and have a bunch of comic books that mean nothing to me. I want my collection to reflect who I am as a Spider Man fan and to really tell a story with my collection. To do that, I'm really focusing on three separate lanes in the collection. The first one I call the Symbiote Spine, and that's going to be talking about the story of the Black Symbiote costume that first appears in the 80s and really the major world that builds throughout the Spider-Verse. The second lane is my Rogues villain, and the early iconic Spider villains are really important to me as a Spider fan and as a collector. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too, why I really gravitate towards those characters. The last lane, the third one, is just books that really pique my interest. And that's things that are like iconic covers, storylines that I really, really like, and I want to collect those books. There's certain artists that I really like their style, and I'm looking at books of them, a lot of like modern variant artists. And then there's books that just have art or, certain niche things about them that I really have come to appreciate. And so those kind of all get grouped into one last section together. So let's kind of break each one down one by one and discuss why that lane is important to me and what it is I'm looking to collect in it. So the first lane is the Symbiote Spine. The story of the symbiote costume and alien and its progression throughout the Spider-Verse is one of the ultimate storylines in Spider-Man, period. One of the first big books to really talk about the symbiote costume is Secret Wars number 8, and this is my copy. This, of course, is how Spider-Man gets the suit, the story of it. And he's off with the Avengers and ends up with this black alien costume. But we know that that's not the first appearance of the symbiote costume in print. That came in The Amazing Spider-Man number 252, and this iconic book had to be in my collection as well. These are really the start of my Symbiote Spine, and we're going to look at books like Amazing Spider-Man 300, which is the birth of Venom, and the books that lead up to that. There's the birth of Carnage and Cletus Cassidy, Amazing Spider-Man 361, some of Carnage's appearances around there. Books like Amazing Spider-Man 346, which is just an iconic Venom cover. Venom's first full cover appearance, which is Amazing Spider-Man 316. All these books, not only are they very classic and collectible and important to most Spider-Man collectors, but they mean a lot to me. When I was first reading Spider-Man as a kid, the 80s had just ended, so we had Venom, who was the ultimate villain against Spider-Man. And I was reading those books, and the appearance of Carnage, Maximum Carnage, those were all really big to me as a child. I mean, it just popped off the page, and really that's something nostalgic for me that I want to chase. The second lane is what I call the Rogues Gallery. So in 1993, I went to Toys R Us and came home with a brand new Sega Genesis game called Spider-Man vs. Kingpin. And this is where it all starts for me. I could not get far in that game at all. It beat me up. I could I could not get into the levels, but my dad could. And so my dad and I would sit down together at the TV with the Sega Genesis, and he would start playing through the levels. And each level had a boss, and they were iconic spider villains. We're talking about the Lizard, Dr. Octopus, Electro, Sandman, Hobgoblin. We had Venom, Kingpin. Those characters really brought Spider-Man to life for me. I mean, that made the comics real. And those weren't the only villains. Over the years, Rhino, Scorpion, Green Goblin, who is huge, both Norman and Harry Osborn, Shocker. A lot of those Silver Age villains, not only are they iconic, but they're very important to my collection. They really made Spider-Man what it was for me. So when I picked up this in the last mail call, Amazing Spider-Man 9, which is the first appearance of Electro, this was a huge book for me. My first Silver Age book, and really it's going to be the anchor to start my Rogues Gallery collection around. I'd been after that book for a while, and finally holding it and having it in my hands in front of me was just magical. It just brought me right back to childhood. The third and final lane in my collection is a much broader category, but it's full of all sorts of things that do have meaning to me. You guys saw me open this Miko Swayan book in mail call. He's an artist that I really like. That one is, an autographed cover, Amazing Spider-Man 26, the Zeb Wells run. And just an iconic, Venom there, half Venom, half Spidey. What a great looking book. Great art. Another recent acquisition, I have the Amazing Spider-Man 253. So this is the first appearance of the Rose, who's, a decent villain. Not major, doesn't need to be in my Rogues Gallery, but that's a character that really interests me. I want to have that book where he first shows up. Or here's just what is an iconic cover to me. It's not like the best story in the world, but, a black suit Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus. Hard to beat that. Pretty good. Amazing Spider-Man 297. Or Spectacular Spider-Man 178. This is a storybook for me, The Child Within. This is book 1 of The Child Within. I have the whole series. It's just killer writing, killer Spider-Man, some of the best from the 80s. I wanted to have that. These are things that just, I don't want to miss out on them and not have a place for them because they do bring me value, but they don't belong on that big high pantheon of, the Rogues Gallery or the Symbiote Spine. So that's a little explanation about what I'm collecting and why. There are a couple books that I'm targeting right now. We'll see, hopefully sooner rather than later, you might see some of them show up in mail call. We're talking books like Amazing Spider-Man 316, the first full Venom cover, Amazing Spider-Man 346, that iconic Venom with the reflection in the eyes that I was talking about earlier, Amazing Spider-Man 361, the first appearance of Carnage. There's also some books for my Rogues Gallery that I'm targeting. Things like Amazing Spider-Man 20, first appearance of Scorpion, or Amazing Spider-Man 46, the first appearance of the Shocker. Some really nice Silver Age books to complement what I have going there. How did you build your Spider-Man collection? If you don't mind dropping in the comments what you've collected, why you're collecting it. Maybe there's books you're looking for right now or you're targeting. Let me know what they are. Do you think there's anything I'm missing that I really need to consider throwing into my collection? Because I'm all ears. And join us next time for a little more discussion on collecting, or maybe we'll have the Bullpen coming up. We'll finish our discussion on the Death Spiral, and there should be more mail calls in the future where we open some more books that are going to be really exciting.